Alright, so in this video what we're going to talk about is the Easy PLC Machine Simulator, and this is actually going to be the upgraded version, which is version 4. Now you can easily see that up here they've changed the icons, they've changed the way everything is. The layout's a lot better. So you can change, what mode you want to be in: first person, third person, 3D, drone. You can come up here and obviously, use your. Right now I have it flying camera. You can see your I/O right here. We are going to program this, so just bear with it. Just keep in mind. But I did want to show you the way that Easy PLC works, right? It's a very good training software if you want to refresh yourself. It's a very good software altogether, to be frankly honest with you. But we're going to actually have to come in here, and what we'll do is we'll kill this right quick, and I'll show you exactly the way the Easy PLC Machine Simulator 4 looks and feels, stuff like that. You can see this right here. You can change how big it is. Like, you can change the size, you can change everything, your controls, your visuals. If you want full screen, if you don't want full screen, like full screen mode, you can have full screen right here, full screen all on and off. Generally speaking too, and when it comes to like your graphic quality, if your computer doesn't have good graphic quality, you can adjust that too as well. So just adjust that from graphic quality down here. You just adjust it to medium, high, low, medium, whatever the case may be. You can come over here, shadows, and then what you do is at the end you just apply changes, and then the settings are all set. You can actually change the frame rate too if you want to change the frame rate. It's very easy to do, right? So we're going to keep it like this, and we're going to start I'm a big component of starting RSLogix before I start my emulator. And there's a reason for that. It's because emulator will not work properly if you do not have RSLogix open already. If you open up RSLogix afterwards, you may win sometimes, but majority of the time you will lose. So we have RSLogix open. Now we need to open up our emulator. So with that said, we'll come over here and open up emulator. But we're not going to use Echo on this one. We're just going to use the regular emulator that obviously that we've been using for quite a while. Obviously too, we're going to create a Studio 5000 file, and while that's opening, you can see we're going to create a brand new project. For the one we're doing, it's going to be like I believe it's, let's just call this, it's going to be an emulator right here. You have to click emulator, keep that in mind. But it's going to be case transfer, and then we'll call this 2025, just because it's good to put a year on it, right? And then we'll click next. What version do we want? That all depends on the emulator, and I'll show you that in just a second. So what we're going to do as far as that goes is, before we make this, we're going to open up the emulator, and we need to verify what versions we have, right? So I have a lot of VMs, so sometimes I know what's on these and what's not. Certain things like Easy PLC's Machine Simulator, I have on one VM, which might not have the higher versions of the software that that I'm actually referring to. So we can easily see right here, this is version, like we can easily see that the properties of this is 33. The properties of this one right here are 32. So I think we'll go with 33 just to be on the safe side. We'll go 33. We'll do slot 2, and we'll click finish. So now we have our emulator, okay, and it does tell me the computer name. You can easily see that it's my name plus FTView12, because this is an FTView12 build. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make this, and then we're going to use our RSLogix Classic, or OEM, or Professional, and we're going to have a DDE or OPC topic. Now that's going to be based upon, again, what we have down here. We can easily see, we could have looked at RSLogix too and figured out what versions we have, but again, you won't have that. You won't have that AB_VBP1. You're not going to have that unless you have that driver already installed. It's not going to show anything unless you already have the emulator pulled up. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody. There's a lot of questions that gets, kind of, passed around about that. What I like to do too is change this from continuous to periodic. Not a fan of continuous tasks. In my opinion, if you're programming in continuous task, you do not understand the timing of your machine. 47 milliseconds is ample enough time to do anything that is not high speed. So I always start with that. Okay, so what we have is we have a list of things that we can use. Okay, so if we go into here, we hit start, we're going to load our conveyor system, and once this loads, we're going to see right here what our IO is. So the things that we need, right, for the IO are conveyor, it's going to be conveyor, reverse, the pneumatic pusher, the start light. So these are all outputs, right? So we'll have the start push button light, and then we'll have the start push button, the stop push button, emergency stop, photo cell, and the advanced pusher. And the advanced pusher is an input because it lets you know that the pusher did happen. So with that said, we'll have a couple of different things right here. We'll have just our regular start stop station. We do have lights, and if we want to think about that, we do have lights in here, so we would obviously need to keep that in consideration. So we can come over here and do a standard start stop station. So we'll call this start PB, and then we'll call this stop PB, and it's just that simple. And then as far as like the lights and stuff like that, you can do multiple things. I like to do just say system active, and what we'll do is we'll come over here and we'll just call this system, let's just say active. And then what we'll do, and that we'll create that as like a seal-in circuit. So when the start's pushed, if the stop push up button is not pushed, it will seal in that. Now to handle our lights, what we'll do is we'll come in and we'll go ahead and just do a branch around this, and we'll see this right here, and then we can come in and do two different things. We can say, okay, well, if our start is active, then the push button light is on. If the system is not active, then that means the stop push button is pushed. Or we can just say this stop, just copy this bit right here and just do it like this. Copy this, paste it down here. We obviously need to change the state right here, because if it's pushed, it's going to be a different state. And then we'll have our outputs for our lights. Okay, so this will be the start push button light, start PB light. And for those that are just learning PLCs, if I'm going a little too fast, I mean, you'll get exactly what I'm saying, and this is the reason why I use the Easy PLC Machine Simulator, is because you really do get a solid understanding behind like programming it and physically seeing it yourself. Okay, so as far as this goes, we have the start, stop, push button, system active. What we need now, like I said, we have the start push button on, and we have emergency stop too, so we have to keep that in mind. So the emergency stop does not have a light, but the emergency stop should stop everything. So in this case, I'm not sure if the emergency stop is a on or off. I'm assuming it's going to be in the opposition. So we'll call this like a failsafe, if you would. So emergency stop PB. So if it is a failsafe, right, we need to have it drop that out. Drop the system active out. With that said, though, we can, let me see if I can tell. Okay, so that's going to be, I want to say that's going to be opposite. So that's exactly what we have. Okay, so we're good with that. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to turn on our conveyor, which if we turn this conveyor on, you can see it turns on every single conveyor. Now that's the cool part about this whole software suite, right? Is because realistically, if you have a question about something, you can test it and see what it does, and then you know how to program it, right? Oh, they also have a demo mode too, where you can see that as well. But advanced pusher, you can see what that does. You can see when the advanced pusher comes out too, you have the pneumatic pusher indicator, which lets you know that the pusher did come out. All right, so we want to push the big boxes this direction, and we want to let the small boxes go. But first, we need to cut on the conveyor. So that's the very first thing. So we'll come over here and we'll say if the system is active. If the system is active, all we'll do is cut on the conveyor. So conveyor run signal. We'll call it, instead of signal, we'll call it run command. I think that, in my opinion, that just fits better. Okay, so we got our conveyor running, and our pusher, we're not going to have our pusher come on until we hit our photo cell. So, and when PE1 comes on, we're going to have our pusher come on. So keep that in mind. So if what we'll say here is if the system is active and the conveyor is running, let's not just grab that. There's several different ways you can program, so don't feel like this is like written in stone. I'm just literally coming off the cuff. So don't feel like, like this is something that you have to do. So we'll call this tall box PE. Because then when the tall box PE comes on, then we want the pusher to come on. Okay, so we'll have the box pusher, and we don't just want to have the box pusher turn on and stay on, right? What we want to do is we want to latch it in. So we want to latch it in, and then so we'll latch it in just like that. And then we'll say when the box, or when the pusher indicator, so the pusher out indicator. So when the pusher out indicator's on, it'll unseal. So everything right here will be active. This will come on, and then it'll start the push, but then the photo eye is going to drop out. And when the photo eye drops out, you need to seal it in and then have the box indicator, or the pusher indicator, which again, when I showed you this a minute ago, you can see the pusher indicator comes out. You can tell right there, and it's just that simple. Now, the key to this too is you're going to have to set up this in your drivers. So what I want to kind of highlight here is the tags that we're currently using. What I like to do is I like to come in and get my tags that I currently have in my PLC program, because they're not going to match up unless you did match your file, like your tags up. I did not match my tags up, but it honestly is because it doesn't matter, and I'll show you that in just a second. So, and we may have to correct some of this, so just like, this is again off the cuff programming. This is teaching those that don't know how to do something. For those of you that are advanced and stuff like that, this probably ain't going to help you a single bit, but it might open your eyes to see, okay, well, there's a different way to do this, or how to actually use the software, which is the Easy PLC Machine Simulator software. Again, so don't hold fault to any of that. When it comes down to it, we're coming in here, we're going to get all of our tags right now. System active we really don't need. We don't really care about that, but what we do need is the tags that are currently there. Alright, so we come back here to the Easy PLC Machine Simulator, and we're going to actually come over here and do our, let's see, I believe it's IO drivers. And in this case, we want to have our IO driver in, I believe it's going to be the enhanced, the OPC driver enhanced. And we're going to configure that. And when the configuration comes up, you'll see that you have your OPC driver. You're going to have your topic name, which right here, we come over here and we open up our topic, and we can see that we don't have this right now. So we have a new one, and we'll call this box transfer. So this, if you don't know anything about OPC topics, this will help you as well. It's a very versatile tool. It's a very helpful tool, I think. And I'm going to apply that. So the name of my OPC topic is going to be box transfer. So OPC topic, I'm a box transfer, and you don't click connect or anything like that. You want to add your outputs. So you add your outputs, and if we recall, we have our light. We have both of our lights really, and we have, so we'll add another one. We have our lights, and then we have the pusher out indicator, conveyor run. That's going to be an output, and you can see, sort of start to see why I chose this one to obviously program, because it's not that complicated and it's easy to follow. So you got to make sure you have the right amount of outputs for what you're doing and the right amount of inputs for what you're doing as well. So we'll have the stop push button, or the e-stop push button for an input. And sometimes the OPC topic, see this right here, I actually have this backwards, and that you have to excuse me for this because this says PLC output, but this says driver digital input. You'll see what I'm talking about if I go to accept it right now. It's going to add those. See, it's going to add them in the wrong spot. So even I make mistakes at times. So what I'll do is I'll come in and add these in the correct spot to save you some time, because again, I wanted to test it before I did it, because what they're trying to do right here is they're indicating to you that, for one, if you just looked at it as a just first glance, you just said, okay, that I need to add my PLC output, but it's saying that the driver digital input. So what is your OPC driver going to do? And it's a digital input. So just like, so all my outputs need to be under the driver digital output, and you get that right. Yeah, so I'll show you that in just a second. This is the pusher indicator. That's the light. This is the conveyor on command. We'll do that. And come over here. This is the box pusher. Come right here. Put that in there. Okay. So now this is going to be our actual PLC inputs. Top box PE. Then we'll have our stop push button, our start push button, start push button. We'll have our pusher indicator, which is an input, if you recall. Let's see, apparently I didn't copy that right. Paste. And you see why I use Notepad too, because it makes it so much quicker and easier. Alright, so I believe we have everything in now. So now if we hit accept, they'll come in the right spots. So we'll have, actually, did this come in the right spot? Let's see, tall box. Actually, I have it backwards again. Bear with me. I'll get it. So what we'll do, we'll pick these real quick. Take these completely out. I had it right the first time. And it's just been a while since I used this software. So with this said, so now we need to have our P start. Or no, this is the output. Start push button light. Stop push button light. The conveyor run. Pusher. Okay, so we have box pusher. The inputs are going to be start push button. So it's easy to tell, you know, like if you made a mistake by comparing it against what it wants. As you see, I did. But hey, that happens. That's part of programming too. You know, you're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be, your end result should achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve, meaning it should run the scope of work and it should be easy to read. The PLC should, obviously logic should be easy to read. So just keep that in mind. Nobody is going to be perfect right out the gate. So let's see, we make sure we have all these. We hit accept. These will change now. We drag all these over. So the start push button on, stop push button on, emergency stop on, the photo cell right here, in the advanced pusher out indicator, the box pusher, what we want right here, the conveyor run, we want the stop light, start light, and then at this point you can go ahead and start. You can save your configuration, which I recommend personally, and I like to call this box I like to call it exactly what it is supposed to be doing, right? So that's our how we save it. So we want to exit and start the driver. So at this point, our OPC, if we look, our OPC, if we did everything right, should be locked in our RSLogix. It should have a lock symbol, everything should be good, and then that way we know that our PLC program is, if it's not actually downloaded or running or anything like that right now. So we're going to go ahead and download that to the PLC program, to the processor that we had. So the ABB BBP1. So we're going to download that, even though we didn't even do anything yet, right? It still made the OPC connection, still made everything valid. Now we may have to stop that connection and restart it. I don't know. But again, when it comes down to it, the PLC was not downloaded to the processor at that point in time. So the tags that are currently there may get updated automatically. It probably depends on the version you're running. and let's see, let's show that, and we'll see that we have all of our things look good so far. And if we hit start, let's come over here and driver, cancel and edit. So we'll do drivers again. And we have all this in here. Let's see. Maybe we have to restart it. That's not a big deal. Come over here. Come over here. And this, and now our OPC should be unlocked. So if I go over here and look at my OPC, it realistically should be unlocked. Not sure why it's being held locked, but either way, we'll come over here. It's probably because the driver is still active. So we'll click machines, and as soon as our machines pop up or populate, you'll see that we go over here, we hit start. And this is the exact reason why I save my configuration, because sometimes you're going to need to stop the system, and having to enter that information is just, I mean, sometimes it's just going to be, you know, a lot harder. So if I go to open configurations and I go to box, it should have saved my configuration, which I don't see. I don't see my box configuration. Well, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and make it anyway. We'll do this again. I'll pause it real quick so you don't have to sit through it. Actually, it's already there. Let's keep it. And start push button on, stop push button on, pusher indicator, tall box, photo eye, the emergency stop, do the push button start light, box pusher, and then the conveyor run. Okay, so at this point, let's save the configuration again. I don't know why I didn't save box transfer. That's kind of strange. Maybe I didn't keep the .drv in there. But either way, it's there. We start. We have an active driver configuration. So now we hit start, and in our PLC file you can see that it is running. Okay, what's going to happen is this tall box should come up and hit the photo cell, and it should push out. And well, let's see if we can get this smaller so that you can see it. I want you to see the PLC at the same time as, so that way you can see the logic work as the actual system is working. And I think, to me, like that's really the helpful side of all this, right? Because you get to see what all is happening. Okay, so that's there, that's there. Okay, so at this point, what we'll see is we'll have the start push button, stop push button. You can see the pusher pushing. So when the tall box hits, and you'll watch when there's not a tall box that allows it to go through, but when the tall box photo eye hits, it latches it in, and the pusher happens until the indicator comes on. Okay. Now, if I were to stop this, it stops exactly where it is. Okay. So if I start it back, it's going to continue exactly where it is. So the way that logic is built is very, very, very simple. But at the same time, you know, this video showed you how to build the logic, shows you how to make the logic work. So if I push the stop button, the light comes on, Okay, if I hit the E stop, then I cannot start. Actually, you see a problem right there, right? So if I hit an E stop, this should be up here instead of where it is. So this is the reason why we test things. So now if I hit a start button and the E stop is pressed, it won't do anything. But if the E stop is pressed, it drops all activity. There's no way to cut it on, even though the light's on, even though the start light's on. Unless you pull out the E-stop, there's no way for that to work again. Now you can easily see this is just a box transfer. It's very simple. It's very easy to program. It's very easy to understand. The APC is locked. You can come over here to the DDE APC. You can see the transfer is locked. And that's basically how you set up and run the EasyPLC machine simulator. Again, when it comes down to it, I had to redo the configuration a couple of times. It made the video a little bit longer, but I think for those that stuck with it, to be honest with you, you learned a lot, not just from the software, but if you're a beginner, you learn how to program the PLC. You also learn what an OPC is. You also learn how to tie everything together and get it to work. Now, this software, again, is the newest version from Nerdtech. It's the Machine Simulator version 4. Now, that version 4 gives a lot more options. It gives a lot more variability. You can adjust things based upon, like I said, your computer settings. But when it comes down to it, I'm running version 33. We built the program from scratch. We made it run. We used our RSLogix. We used our emulator. You can see all that running. So we're not using any hardware whatsoever. All this is completely virtual. And all we have to do is, you see, none of these short boxes are going to get kicked over because, again, the way we have it programmed is just for a tall box. So if a tall box goes past that PE or that photo eye that's detecting a box higher than that small box, then it will push it. But if it doesn't, that's called a box sorting system. Okay, so just so you know, this is a very simple scenario, but it is a box sorting system. So the logic doesn't have to be real complex. It just has to work. Again, number one thing is your scope of work. What is your scope of work to get a machine running? Make sure you program it for the scope of work. If you can, make it user-friendly for the person behind you to read the logic and to make sure that it's easily read. This logic is very simple, very easy to read. Again, I just did it off the cuff. I could have made an AOI like that, made it very complex. But again, there's no reason to make logic complex when it comes to PLC programming. And again, I know this is a longer video, but when it comes down to it, you learn by watching and paying attention to the details instead of having short little videos that give you the little tidbits, but they don't really give you the full story. This gives you the full story. This is how I teach. There's a lot of people that teach PLC programming online that honestly I do not agree with, but I'm not going to call out any names. I'm just going to say that I've had several people reach out to me and say they've gotten ripped off by people, and unfortunately that's the way the business is. With me, you will never ever you'll never hear that statement. You'll never ever hear that I've done anything wrong at all besides teach and help the industry grow. My goal behind this and behind what I do is to help the future. We need technicians, okay? So if we need technicians, the only way to do that is to bridge that knowledge gap. So the only way to bridge that knowledge gap is to make videos like this, is to make PLC training that will help you become from a beginner to an advanced programmer within a set amount of time. And with that said, this is exactly the reason why I started doing this. So with over 7 years of YouTube videos, over probably close to 675 videos on YouTube. There is a video that shows you how to find stuff that you want to see, but again, using this is a very good tool. So I can't talk any more highly of the Easy PLC. It's a lot cheaper too than the Factory Talk or the Factory IO. So with that said, hopefully you guys learned a lot from this video. We'll see you guys on the next one.